Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us. Tonight, shocking report that illegals could vote in the 2016 election if the president has his way, and how one state, Texas, might put the federal government to shame by strengthening its own power grid. But first, to breaking news, thousands gather in Baltimore in what many call a victory rally. This after the Baltimore City prosecutor charged 6 police officers in the death of Freddie Gray. Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin is in Baltimore with the latest. Mike?
Hi, Judge. Well, the demonstrations that were down at City Hall marched en masse to this location at North Avenue in Pennsylvania, which has really become the epicenter of the demonstrations. This, of course, connected with the CVS that was looted on live television. If you get a look around right now, it's really just kind of worked its way into somewhat of a street party, and it looks like they took off marching now here from the center of the intersection, heading east on North Avenue. But the whole thing has kind of become routine, with the exception that right now you have almost no police presence out here. You don't have the cops and the riot shields. You don't even see the National Guard at this moment. But part of the routine that has worked up is Congressman Elijah Cummings has arrived here, and just about every night we see him get on the bullhorn and encourage people to get home, respect the curfew. Most of them do. You usually have a few people who want to hang out, and when the police show up in force and start making their first aggressive move towards the crowd, what you generally get is the crowd scatters, and all that's left here at the intersections is media. Judge?
Mike, thanks. And now to my opening statement. Tonight, cops across the nation are being demonized for the alleged actions of some in Baltimore. But imagine the 25-year-old running from the police is your son. Your son arrested and thrown in that police van. Your son buried. I want you to take race, family, preconceived notions for or against law enforcement out of this. This is about the facts, pure and simple. I've been there. The elected DA in a tough spot, charging police, the investigative agency that you work with every day, that you need to testify to put criminals behind bars, with a crime that could land them behind those same bars. The issues are hard, the problems fast and furious. Now, there's no question that Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is articulate, passionate, and believes in the charges that she has brought. And she believes that she can prove them beyond a reasonable doubt. But I'm not so sure.
The manner of death, deemed a homicide by the Maryland State Medical Examiner, is believed to be the result of a fatal injury that occurred while Mr. Gray was unrestrained by a seatbelt in the custody of the Baltimore Police Department wagon.
But she's also inexperienced, never having tried a murder case, new at the job in office for 4 months, just recently leaving her insurance company job. Now, granted, the medical examiner ruled this a homicide, but any experienced prosecutor knows that that's nothing more than a classification, meaning it's not an accident, it's not a suicide, and it's not undetermined. So why on the same day the autopsy findings are released to her does she file charges? There's no question. Freddie Gray was healthy enough to run from the police, but almost dead when he was taken off that police van. And in a case as unusual and unique as this, why not seek out pathologists, other medical examiners for insight into what the defense will try to show and who to charge? Were Freddie Gray's injuries the result of the bicycle cops putting him in a prone position? Were they due to his then being put in a seated position after finding the knife? Or when they put him stomach down on the ground? Or when he was put in a leg lace? Or when he was placed in the police van without a seatbelt? Or when he was removed from the van and flex cuffs placed on his wrists and leg shackles on his legs? Now, Mosby believes the critical neck injury occurred during the ride to Central Booking. How does she know that? Maybe we all need to step back and let the justice system take its course. And whether they're guilty or not guilty, Whether they should have been charged or have been overcharged, the passion surrounding this case and arguments to render cops powerless or call for the removal of their guns is nothing short of lunacy and putting all of society at risk. When cops commit crimes, they're prosecuted and jailed. I know. I've prosecuted cops. But it's time for us to recognize the importance and the necessity of maintaining and respecting the men and women in blue who put their lives on the line every day. And to suggest that all cops are the enemy is absurd. To those who hate cops and don't want them around, start defending yourself. The truth? These cops are not paid anywhere near enough to put their lives on the line every day. They're not paid enough to be abused and ridiculed and blamed for all of society's ills, spit on by murderers, waste thrown at them by prisoners. Cops are the one line of defense, indeed the last line that separates us from a barbaric and chaotic society. They live on the battlefield where the fight between good and evil unfolds every day. And often, they quietly die on that very battlefield. And left behind are grieving families, children without parents because someone chose to stand for law and order against chaos. And after their deaths, there are no marches, no burning of businesses, and no looting when they're killed. Maybe it's time to recognize and respect the role of men and women in our society. And that's my open.